Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information that new information, additional information, and again, we will continue.
At her first public press conference following the latest Epstein bombshells, as well as Donald Trump's brutal defeat about a key Epstein files-related vote, which would force their disclosure, the beleaguered Attorney General, Pam Bondi, was visibly panicked as she was peppered by reporters with questions about Epstein, and what she said and refused to say gave the whole game away. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, folks, I've got some clips to play for you here, flanked by Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche and FBI Director Kash Patel, who reportedly hates Bondi privately. There's been some tension there. She got hit with a bunch of Epstein questions, and she did not handle it well or give answers that provided any sort of confidence or comfort.
Off topic.
On the Epstein files, does the new investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always encourage all victims to come forward.
So you can see the look on her face. So Bondi is especially disliked by most people. She's wildly unpopular. A lot of MAGA hate her guts. She comes off so combative and feisty in most situations. Just you should see her recent Senate hearing where she was just like frothing at the mouth, wrathful and rageful to try to impress Donald Trump. But you can see it on her on her face, and you can hear it in her voice. She's scared shitless about this. She knows how precarious her position is. She knows that everybody hates her. She knows that most people think she's incredibly stupid and make fun of her, and she deserves all of that. And she knows that she is dealing with political live ammunition in the sense that the Epstein files have backfired spectacularly on her, on Patel, and on their mutual boss, Donald Trump. But she did not answer the question substantively, right? What are you going to do with the release of the Epstein files? We're just going to follow the law. And if you're a victim, please come forward. That's not exactly an answer. Here's another question.
Say follow the law, Madam Attorney General. Do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law, again, while protecting victims, but also providing maximum transparency.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement.
I want to stop right there for just a second. We'll play the rest of this clip. But again, notice the utter lack of defiance, at least so far. She's timid. She's intimidated. Kash Patel, who has contributed just as much to the screw-up as Bondi, maybe just a little less. He's standing stone-faced straight ahead, trying not to give anything away. Again, this is not going well for the Trump administration. And she's right. As of this press conference, it is yet to be signed into law by Donald Trump. And he may veto it, he may pocket veto it, he may take his time signing it into law, but basically the Justice Department within 30 days should be transmitting the Epstein files over. She just refuses to commit to it. We'll follow the law. Well, you're a particularly lawless Justice Department, so that isn't really reassuring. But what does that phrase even mean to you?
Maximum transparency.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information that new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward. And we will continue to provide maximum transparency.
It's so funny. She is about to have a panic attack on stage here because he hit her. That reporter hit her with just a brutal response, which is okay. As part of your rationale for not releasing the Epstein files, which you promised to do, which Kash Patel promised to do, which Donald Trump promised to do, What you said was, well, listen, there's really no point because we reviewed the files and there's really nothing to report or investigate. Everything has already been prosecuted. There's nothing there. Then Donald Trump publicly orders you to launch investigations into President Clinton, Reid Hoffman, Larry Summers, and now you're saying you're doing that. What's changed? And you just see it. She knows she has no good answer for this. She knows she's objectively screwed, that Democrats are 100% right and that morally inferior Republican politicians are 100% wrong. She has no way to spin this. Additional information. No. You mean the public order. You mean to give Donald Trump some sort of political smokescreen. That's why you're doing this. What additional information? Well, how did you come about that information if you stopped the investigation? Didn't you say you were closing the books on the investigation and there was no need to release the files? So who provided this information? What information? What is it? What's going on here? No good answer. Pure 100% partisan weaponization of the Justice Department that the morally superior Biden administration never did. Here's another clip.
The issue with the new information that you just indicated, is the department seeking information perhaps from the Epstein estate because Mr. Blanche did not have that information when he interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell? What new information, and would you limit the new investigation to just those named persons that the president talked about, or is this a broad, open-ended investigation?
I would refer to the Deputy Attorney General's post that he put out on X, and we're not going to say anything else on that because now it is a pending investigation in the Southern District of New York. But you're on point.
You just see it. She's like shitting her pants in terror. And look at Patel. Patel is hiked up. He's terrified. These people are so screwed. This is a desperate attempt to save their asses. I do want to see here, looks like there may be some more clips from this from the Bulwark provided. Let's take a look at this for a second. Deputy Attorney General Kash Patel, or not Kash Patel, excuse me, Todd Blanche. He was asked a question. So before we get into the other thing I want to share with you, Todd Blanche steps up to the microphone. Take a look.
The Attorney General has previously said that she would refuse to release any information that would re-victimize victims, and I'm just wondering whether that stands, after the passage of this law.
Well, the law isn't signed into law yet, and of course we're going to protect victims, and the law as written allows us to do that. The law has carve-outs to protect victims and to protect information surrounding victims, which is what we do not only in this case but in every case. So it's a fair question, but neither the House nor the Senate's version, the same version, suggested otherwise.
Interesting response. Okay, so let's take a look at this because the New York Times has some updated reporting. As Trump looks for distraction on Epstein, Justice Department rushes to his aid. The department was deployed in effect as an arm of Trump's rapid response operation to help him muscle through a damaging news cycle over Jeffrey Epstein. Former and current officials have said. Former and current officials are leaking this to the press. Attorney General Pam Bondi's prosecutorial sprint speed is improving, at least from the perspective of the man holding the stopwatch, Donald Trump. Just 217 minutes elapsed between Trump's command on Friday morning that she investigate prominent Democrats like Bill Clinton, who were named in documents in Congress obtained from Epstein's estate, and Bondi's announcement that she had referred to the matter to the U.S. Attorney in Manhattan. Earlier demands took days, sometimes weeks, to fulfill. Bondi's statement was an unmistakable demonstration of Trump's near total success in subordinating the Justice Department's post-Watergate independence to his will. Friday was a milestone of sorts. The department was deployed in effect as an arm of Trump's rapid response operation to help him muscle through a damaging news cycle, current and former officials said. But whether you're investigated or prosecuted, or whether you're pardoned or have your sentence commuted, depends on whether you are an enemy or friend of Donald Trump, said Mary McCord, who once oversaw the Justice Department's National Security Division and is now a professor at Georgetown Law. Quote, there is no pretense of even-handed justice. That core principle is gone. Trump has ordered partisan investigations in bulk. James Comey, the former FBI director, Letitia James, New York's Attorney General, John Brennan, the former, that made it sound like he was Irish or something, John O. Brennan, the former CIA director, Adam Schiff, a Democratic senator from California, and Jack Smith, the special counsel who twice indicted Trump, among others. Friday's batch consisted of an all-Democratic roster of men who, like Trump, socialized with Epstein, a convicted sex offender. They included President Clinton, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and the mega donor and venture capitalist Reid Hoffman, along with a bank that has long-standing ties to Epstein. Several Trump allies, requesting anonymity to speak candidly, conceded that the investigation was an effort to shift attention from the messages in the trove that suggested that Trump knew far more about Epstein's abuse of underage girls than he previously acknowledged. Just as important, they said, was Trump's need to spin a new narrative to deflect from an emerging challenge within his own party, the push to release the remaining Justice Department and FBI investigative files on Epstein. On Sunday night, Trump effectively acknowledged his inability to block the Epstein files as a political narrative. Facing all but certain defeat on Capitol Hill, he reversed himself and urged the House to back a measure to compel the Justice Department to release the material from its investigation, a step that he had been seeking to block as recently as Friday. Bondi's quick response on Friday to Trump's demand of an investigation into Democrats also amounted to a complete about-face. In her case, from her announcement 4 months ago, when she formally declared that nothing in the Epstein files warranted further investigation, thus, again, the panic attack that she just had on stage when pressed about that. The department spokesman declined to comment by email, noting that Bondi and her top deputy, quote, have assembled an outstanding team of U.S. attorneys who are trusted and empowered to diligently uphold the rule of law, prosecute crime, and protect our communities. The investigation assigned to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Southern District of New York might have more than symbolic importance. If an investigation into any one of the targets suggested Trump were to ultimately start, it would allow the Justice Department to refuse to release any further files related to Epstein by claiming that the disclosures could harm continuing inquiries. Again, where she says we will follow the law and not comply with the full release of the Epstein file. She was very non-committal. Trump, facing little resistance, is keeping up the pressure on Bondi. Shortly after she announced who would lead the investigation into prominent Democrats like Mr. Clinton, Trump reposted a meme calling for the prosecution of Chris Wray, the former FBI director that, by the way, Trump himself appointed. It included a doctored photo of Bondi with the text, quote, for the love of God, just arrest somebody. Again, not good, and demonstrating Trump's unparalleled corruption, infinitely worse than all of the Democrats combined, and his moral inferiority. His tirades have real-world consequences. Comey and James were recently indicted over the objection of prosecutors who found insufficient evidence to proceed. But investigations propelled by posts on Truth Social might not have the comparable standing in federal court or in courts of public opinion as investigations predicated on evidence. Trump himself benefited from skepticism about the fairness of his own federal prosecutions, particularly the use of untested legal arguments to charge him with trying to overturn the 2020 election. These cases have the potential to end in convictions and prison sentences, but the sheer number of them he has already demanded may be devaluing their currency to the transactional Trump. They appear, for now, to be losing some of their initial power to startle, punish, shame, and intimidate. Singling out Clinton, quote, is noise meant to distract from the election losses, backfiring shutdowns, and who knows what else, Angel Urena, his deputy chief of staff, said in a statement. Representative Eric Swalwell, Democrat of California and a longtime critic of Trump's, responded with a shrug after the Federal Housing Administration made a criminal referral to the Justice Department for mortgage fraud, similar to the charges that James faces. Quote, the only thing I'm surprised by is it took him this long to come after me, he said in a statement. Trump campaigned on a seemingly contradictory message, to restore the rule of law and to exact revenge, buoyed in part by a long-held belief that federal law enforcement persecuted conservatives, including himself. Quote, unfortunately, in recent years, a corrupt group of hacks and radicals within the ranks of the American government obliterated the trust and goodwill built up over generations, Trump said in an agenda-setting speech at the department's Great Hall in March. Quote, we are turning the page, he added. Since the start of his second term, Trump has targeted Democrats while offering clemency and pardons to the January 6 rioters and Republicans like George Santos, overturning dozens of decisions made by jurors acting on carefully collected evidence. At the same time, Trump hopes to leverage the department's historical credibility to lend legitimacy to his campaign of retribution. Thus far, however, almost every investigation involving the high-profile Trump target has been pursued with a slapdash celerity that threatens to hobble their successful prosecution. The exception is the case of John Bolton, Trump's former national security advisor, who's accused of mishandling classified documents. Even Trump critics believe his prosecution is rooted in evidence. A federal magistrate judge handling the Comey case went so far as to suggest prosecutors were engaging in a fishing expedition, accusing them of taking a, quote, indict first, investigate second approach during a preliminary hearing this month in Alexandria, Virginia. In September, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney assigned to investigate Comey was replaced after refusing to bring charges. The legality of the appointment of his successor, Lindsay Halligan, hastily installed by Trump, is being challenged by lawyers representing Comey and James. The mortgage fraud investigation into Schiff, conducted by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Maryland, has been dragging on for months, but there are signs it remains active, according to people briefed on the matter. On November 10th, Kelly Hayes, the U.S. Attorney in Maryland, wrote to the General Counsel of the House requesting Schiff's correspondence in 2020 related to reporting his mortgage information on ethics forms and supporting materials related to his claim in 2010 that he lived at his house in Maryland most of the year, according to documents obtained by the New York Times. That scenario appears to have been repeated in Philadelphia, where another Trump-appointed U.S. attorney was assigned to look into Brennan's actions as CIA director in 2017 over his agency's response to Russian election interference in the 2016 campaign. This month, the case was abruptly handed off to the U.S. attorney in Miami, Jason Redding Quinones, who is said to be widening the investigation beyond the 2017 timeframe as a part of his larger effort to investigate what Trump loyalists claim is a grand conspiracy by Democrats. Bondi has on occasion pushed back. For instance, she privately defended Eric Siebert, the prosecutor Trump forced out to secure the Comey indictment, against attacks by Bill Pulte, the director of the Federal Housing Finance Agency, whom he urged to be fired. She was overruled and at times has been blindsided by actions that would have typically required an attorney general's sign-off. In October, Bondi and her top deputy were not given advance notice that Halligan intended to present the James case to a grand jury. But in general, Bondi has been more attentive to her standing in Trump's circle than in asserting her autonomy or standing up for the Justice Department's independence, in the views of critics and some administration officials. The announcement of an investigation on Friday came in the form of her reply to Trump's demand that she go after Democrats linked to Epstein. Quote, "Thank you, Mr. President," she wrote on X. So there you have it, folks. Pam Bondi is having a full-blown meltdown/panic attack. She is no longer fiery and assertive. She knows that she's, again, in serious jeopardy, politically speaking, and she's just simply doing Trump's bidding here. And she knows that she has no credible defense or justification for it, and that she will continue to be mocked and scrutinized and humiliated every step of the way. But that's the price you pay for being a Trump sycophant, and it's incredibly dangerous when you consider that she's the top law enforcement officer in this country. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.